if I go 90 days without pretty much doing what I'm supposed to do on a daily basis and not being disciplined enough to do the things I need to do for my business, 90 days later, I'm going to crash. I'm going to hit the wall. And I've been doing this for 23 years now, and I can tell you without missing a beat that it is science. Whatever I do today, I'm going to pay for it 90 days from today.
Exactly. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Loan Officer Growth Podcast, the podcast that helps loan officers grow their business, but also have more freedom. So, man, I have a very special guest today, a good friend of mine. Not sure how long we've been friends, but a very, very good friend of mine, Eddie Fooshang. He is a branch manager and loan officer with Southwest Funding. And like I said, just a great friend, man. How are you doing?
What's going on, Richard? Man, it's been a while since we talked last time. The answer to your question, we actually met the very first time in 2016.
2016. And it was at an event, I'll bet.
It was at the Marketing Animal in San Antonio, right? And then we became partners in beginning of 2017, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And it was a great ride, riding by your side, for probably a couple of years.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of good times.
Yeah, I learned a lot from you, for sure.
And I did from you, so it works
That's
both
awesome.
ways.
Very cool. Very cool.
So let's just go straight in and why don't you tell us how you got started, the whole background and where you're at today?
Man, this is taking me back to probably 23 years ago is when I got into business.
Yep.
And so I started my career in sales as a car salesperson for a few brands like Volkswagen, Honda, Mazda, and I did very well. I was promoted with that dealership group to a finance manager. And at the time, I felt like I wanted to do something, a lot more rewarding. And at the same time, to have a really nice work-life balance with my family.
Yep.
And that's when I really came across, becoming a mortgage loan officer. And it was through the process of me trying to purchase my first home. And, I just felt like nobody had the decency to sit down with me and explain to me what is required, what I needed to do, the steps that I need to take. And at the time I was 23 years old, so few people did not take me seriously at the time, right? So long story short, I went and I started doing my own research of what I needed to do to obviously qualify. And sure enough, I went one time to a mortgage loan officer that was in my town with a folder that had pretty much everything in it. And the guy was very impressed, and he looked at it and he's like, "Have you thought about doing this for a living?" And that was pretty much the beginning of it. So back in 2003, I went and started working for a company by the name of AmeriQuest Mortgage, if you recall the name.
Yeah.
During the subprime era, and pounded 250 calls a day.
Wow.
Basically, it was a telemarketing environment, and that's pretty much how I started in the mortgage business. And then fast forward to today, it was a beautiful journey. I absolutely love the industry. I love my career. I love what I do. I got to meet some really nice, cool people in the business, and it definitely helped me, have a really nice, decent life. I cannot complain about, the journey.
Right. That's awesome, man. Very cool. So what is, let's talk a little bit about experiences and what's the last time you had an experience that was kind of hard, but it taught you a great lesson?
Man, life is all about experiences and stations in life, Freya. So we all go through stations and we all go through phases. And I was just having this conversation with my oldest daughter. Um, seeing her having her own kids now and me being a grandfather, looking back, you're realizing that you know, time flew by in a blink of an eye. Um,
Right.
because literally I was just talking to her about how when I was in my 20s, my goals and my, drive and my passion and, what was very important to me, my priorities have completely shifted and changed now that I'm 45, you know. And I remember, from the early 20s to you know, the the early 30s, there was a shift that happened. And then from the 30s all the way to the 40s, there is another shift that happened from a mental point of view. But speaking about, situations and experiences, obviously I have gone through from a career point of view through the ups and downs of the mortgage business as
Yep.
any other business. We obviously went through the crash of '06, '07, '08. And, everybody who's been in the mortgage business that long can remember the effects, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and sometimes even physically, um, of the negative impact we had during these times, right? But then we also learned the courage to get up, and shake it up and try again. And we fell, and we got up again, and we tried again, and we succeeded, and
Yep.
then we fell, and we got up again. And so the point I'm trying to make right here is it's a journey and it never ends. So on a personal side, I have gone through some, we're all humans, right? So, this is the one thing I like about you, Richard, is you're able to speak with people frankly and without any facade of
Yep.
what it is to be a mortgage loan officer because we're human beings. We all go through the personal stuff like everybody else. So I went through a divorce about 4.5 years ago. And obviously, with the divorce, there was a lot of obviously, you know, uh, impact, whether it's an emotional, financial, and obviously career wise. Because, when you go through these personal events in your life, sometimes you go through multiple setbacks back to back, and your mental game, sometimes can take you off the path, and you get distracted with your personal, you know, problems or issues that you're dealing with, and and that's the real um, nugget that I would like to share with you and anybody else who's listening that may possibly be going through a similar situation is listen, we like to think of ourselves as supermen and superwomen, right? Supermen and superwomen, but the reality is we are regular people. We're human beings,
Yep.
right? We even at the highest level of your success, when you feel like I own the world, when you feel like I've accomplished every goal that I set, on paper, and you scratched off every goal that you've accomplished, and you feel like you're unstoppable, life will humble you down quickly to make you realize that, listen, arrogance and cockiness, especially in life in general, and especially in business, is a very dangerous situation to be in. It's always good to be humble. Um, it's okay to brag about your successes and to have pride in those successes,
Right.
but not to allow it to get into your head and think that you're invincible. Right? Does that make any sense, Richard? What I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. That definitely makes sense.
So that's pretty much what happened. Like I'm talking from my own personal experience. I went from like the highest part of my career through, the divorce and obviously going through some financial hiccups because of that, and being distracted, no longer thinking about the business as much as I should have. Obviously that impacted the results. So that gave me a period of a long winter, if you will. It caused me to obviously shrink my operation. I had to downsize my team. I had to cut down on obviously business costs and stuff like that, which it was like a spiral of negative effects happening
Right.
behind the back, right? And as we all know, whatever we do today, we're going to reap that 90 days later, right? Whether it's a
Yep.
positive or negative, right? So if you are pounding the phones, making relationships, talking to people, having, unstoppable calendar, and you're basically focusing for 90 days later, you're going to be receiving the rewards of those actions. And
Exactly.
and the opposite is true. If I go 90 days without pretty much doing what I'm supposed to do on a daily basis and not being disciplined enough to do the things I need to do for my business, 90 days later, I'm going to crash. I'm going to hit the wall. And I've been doing this for 23 years now, and I can tell you without missing a beat that it is science. Whatever I do today, I'm going to pay for it 90 days from today.
Exactly. So you talk a little bit about falling and then bouncing back, and you've definitely bounced back in a great way. What are some of the things? What are some of the strategies and tasks and things that you did to grow your business again?
The one thing I can say that really had a big impact is more of like I don't want to say meditation, but it was more of like a meditative conversation with myself.
Okay.
Um, it's how can I describe what I mean by meditative conversation? Basically, I'm having a conversation with myself, literally sitting down. I have my journal, and I'm literally putting my thoughts on paper.
Okay.
What was so great about my business when it was successful? What was I doing? And I had to like go and remember, and I had to rewind the tape and basically remind myself of the things that I did that got me to where I was at the time, at the highest level of my success, right? And and then I basically sat down and looked at what I am doing now. And I was being very honest with myself. And this is really the crucial piece. You have to be very honest with yourself. We all tend to basically try to downplay our, uh, shortcomings and the lack of discipline and all of these things. But the reality is we cannot have a very solid appraisal of what is the issue until we become very, very honest with ourselves of what are the things that we're not doing. Okay. So I literally sat down and I basically listed all the things that I think I did that made me successful, compared it to what I'm doing now. And the contrast between the two sides is very clear, very obvious, right? So, there is the saying I heard from Tony Robbins a long time ago, said success leaves clues, right? So
Yep.
success leaves clues. So when you look at the traits of success and all the things that contributed to the success in the past, if you repeat the exact same formula, success happens, right?
Exactly.
There's no science to it. It's not a secret, and it's as simple as that. But the reality is, we a lot of times lie to ourselves,
Yep.
and before we lie to others, like we can say, like, oh, dude, I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. I have a great month. I'm living the dream. But in all reality, I'm not. If that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's the one thing I would say that really had a big impact on me, you know, returning back to my activities, if that makes sense. I haven't reached obviously the success that I want to reach yet, and eventually I want to obviously surpass my highest successes from the past, right? But
Right.
at the end of the day, I like to kind of like consider it. I'm starting again. It's like a restart from fresh again, because there is probably a couple of years where I took my feet off the gas pedal. Took, I was cruising, if you will. I was not actually driving. I was just more of
Yeah.
like a cruiser. And now that those things have, subsided on the side, I'm now focusing on, rebuilding and getting it back to where it's to where it once was, and even higher and bigger than that.
Love it. Love it. Not to get too personal, but what were some of those activities on that list? What were some things that you did
You talking about back
to
then
well back then, and then you said
and
you made
today?
the list to kind of look at today, like what are the activities I'm going to do to get back to that success?
So what I did that was, and I was very disciplined about it, and underline the word disciplined because that's really the secret sauce right here. Without discipline, nothing happens, right? So you have to be
Right.
very disciplined. Even if you don't feel like doing it, you got to do it, right? And
The
that
hardest
was
part.
one, yeah, and that was one thing I was very good at. So I didn't feel like going to the gym, but I did anyway. And I was very consistent with it. And physically, I was in good shape when I was really at the highest level of my success. I was physically uh, fit and I was well, right? Two, I didn't feel like making the phone calls. I did anyway.
Yep.
And those phone calls obviously resulted to meetings and appointments and having relationships, and then these relationships resulted into obviously a massive flow of leads coming my way. And at the time, I had obviously a nice solid team that was basically helping me with that. Now I'm restarting that again. Okay. The third thing I would say, I just did not spend a week without meeting with at least five people face to face.
Love
And
it.
that was like a crucial piece of law that I had. A week does not go by unless I have sat down, broke bread, or met with five people face to face. And
Non-negotiable.
non-negotiable. Like I do not end the week until I have that, you know, part taken care
Right.
of. Fast forward to the time, probably, few months back when I basically made the realization that okay, I need to basically get back in the game. Um, I was not doing any of those things. I was overweight, and I'm obviously working on getting back to where I was at the time, physically. I did not go to the gym at all. I had the membership, but I didn't even, didn't have the dare to get up in the morning and just go to the gym, right?
Right.
Did not make any phone calls and hardly had any face-to-face meetings. The other thing I was very active with as well, social media. I was doing a lot of social media stuff, videos and creating a lot of contents and stuff like that. I was pretty much posting like 2 or 3 things a day,
Right.
I slacked on that as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of different, components that, provided that success that I was experiencing in the past that I did not experience, uh, you know, lately. So 2 months ago, when I sat down and I basically made a realization that enough is enough. Like, come on, it's time for me to now to wake up. 4.5 years is enough time for me to basically deal with whatever the issues that I was dealing with, and now let's focus on the real thing. And that's pretty much the answer to it.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, making the phone calls and doing that consistently has got to be the hardest thing for a lot of loan officers, I think. What do you like? And I know this is a hard question to answer, but what steps or what did you do to make sure that you did it regardless of how you felt?
So I always like to trick myself into doing things, and it's more of like a mental thing. Our mind is really what dictates how we act. There is there was an image that I saw in one of the seminars that I attended, and it was like a circle, and it basically started with a thought. The thought produced emotion, feeling. Those feelings produced the action. Those actions produce the results. The results then produce the belief, which again feeds another thought, right? So it's more of like a cycle. It's a vicious cycle,
Right.
whether it's positive or negative, right? So a positive thought is going to produce a positive feeling. That positive feeling is going to get you to take a positive action. That positive action is going to produce a positive result. Therefore, that positive result is going to create that positive belief. And once you believe something, then more thoughts like that will start to happen, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
And same thing, with the negative side, right? So I like to trick myself by basically creating the environment for me to do it, and convincing myself it's fun. It's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a blast, right? So number one, I set it from 11 to 1 o'clock is when I make my phone calls.
Okay.
Before that, I feel like it's too early, especially with real estate agents, they don't wake up early. They don't like to wake up early. So calling someone at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, they haven't had their coffee yet. It's not a good way to start the day. Right. And I avoided making the phone calls on Mondays, no calls on Mondays, because let's face it, on Mondays, we're all dragging feet, and I'm being very honest about it for myself. On Mondays, I
Yep.
drag feet, so it's not a secret. So I don't make any phone calls on Mondays. So my phone calls were Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Okay. So it was
Okay.
4 days a week from 11 to 1. Okay. Now, the way I like to kind of do it is, we're having fun conversation. I'm calling to check on you, like, hey man, what's going on? What have you been up to? Tell me about yourself. What you do? What did you do this weekend? So I don't really talk about business, because every time I call and talk about business, it becomes very old very fast,
Right.
and people will start to not enjoy answering my phone calls. You know what
So
I
who
mean?
are you calling? Do you have like a schedule of who you call? Like, do you calling realtors? You're calling past clients, sphere of influence?
Yeah. So I have this schedule that I got from the book, Win by Noon. Is more of like a planner.
Yep.
And basically it kind of breaks it down for you to kind of like know exactly, what, I'm trying to show you guys, what it looks like, so that way. But it's a really cool thing. Basically tells us, on Mondays, I don't make any phone calls. On Mondays I pretty much kind of like more of like organize my day to kind of like see what's going on, what's happening.
Yep.
And then on Tuesdays, this is when I actually call, like my referral partners that, that I have a really good relationship with. Check on them. How was the weekend? Talk to me about the weekend. What are your plans for the week, or the following weekend? Do you have any showings, anything like that? Okay. Sometimes if they have open houses, I help them with some flyers that they can use for that. On Wednesdays, I'm calling, all the people that are pre-approved and out there looking for houses to, see what's going on with the home search. Okay. I follow up with those realtors as well, just to make sure that, hey, have you guys, did you have any luck showing them
Right.
houses this week? What's going on? And then on Thursdays, I'm doing my weekly update on existing files, that are, and usually they don't take that much, right? Calling the
Right.
listing agents as well, providing like a quick update, what's going on. So that way they don't have to call me wondering what's going on, you know?
Exactly.
And then on Fridays, I'm actually calling my past clients, the people that I have already closed, had a good relationship with in the past. Some maybe, friends, sphere of influence. Some other business professionals, like CPAs that I know, insurance agents that I know. Things like that. So Friday is more of like like a networking day, if you will. It's just catching up with people, asking if they know anybody that needs my help.
How do those go on Fridays? That's interesting to me.
People are in good mood on Friday, man. Like
Yeah.
people are ready to start the weekend. They're and again, it's all about how we're having this conversation. If I'm calling, basically pounding the phone every Friday, talking to the same exact individual, it's going to get
Right.
old pretty quickly, right? So, I usually just, try to talk to the people like maybe once every month. Like
Yep.
I don't overdo it because it just becomes too much, right? Same thing. I don't talk about business. because obviously they already know what I do for a living. If they know
Right.
someone and they like me, they're gonna send me stuff, right? But so I don't have to every time I talk to you, Richard, I'm like, hey, do you have anybody that's looking to buy a house or refinance? Like it becomes old very, very fast. So you already know what I do for a living. You like me enough, and I'm pretty sure if you find someone who's looking to do something, you're gonna send them to me on your own. Does that make
Right.
sense? So the point of me just having that conversation with you is just to basically stay top of mind on your end.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's when you're consistent and you're calling 2 hours a day, man, that's going to bring in business.
It will.
Definitely.
It will. It will. Absolutely will.
Yeah. Our time flew, man.
That was
I
good. That was good.
can't believe how quick everything went. One more question. What words of encouragement do you have for loan officers that have kind of like feel stuck or might be going through some things like you did, and what words of encouragement do you have for them?
My words of encouragement is it's okay. You're gonna get through it. It's fine. It's just a speed bump on the way, right? We all go through speed bumps. I can get in my car right now, and on my way home, I'm probably gonna hit few speed bumps in traffic, and and multiple red lights, and it's okay. It's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. Just have the the unwavering uh, belief that you're going to get home. You're going to get to the destination you're going to, right? It's
Yep.
just a process. So I say to people, and I say to myself all the time, that it's okay. It's okay for me to feel down today. It's okay for me to feel, challenged today. But I refuse to give up. I refuse to become a victim. You know, like I would always tell myself, like, hey, you're talking like a victim right now. Stop being a victim, right? Shake
Right.
it off and get up. You're a victor. Like, get up and do it. You created. And the other thing that I can basically tell someone is, listen, nobody's going to come to save you. You're going to have to save yourself.
Yep.
No one will save you. No one will save you. You have to get up and save yourself. And just be very honest with yourself. Sit down, have a conversation with yourself. Um, Write down your thoughts, write down your feelings, write down your emotions, get it out of your chest. Don't let it linger inside of you. The more it lingers inside of you, the more you will be distracted, the more you will find yourself going, you know, through the wall, right? So you just need to be very honest with yourself, take a deep breath, sit down, evaluate where you are right now and where you want to be, and figure out what you want to do right there to to bridge that gap between where you are now and where you want to be, and there's the gap in the middle. Just try to bridge that gap one day at a time, you know
Yep.
and just focus on two small things that you can do consistently for the next 90 days. And once you do them, find two more things that you can basically focus on.
Awesome. Great advice. All right, man.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. It's been great having you on.
Thanks, Richard. I appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Bye
Oh,
bye.
before we go, if
Yeah.
you've made it this far listening to this podcast and you want a free copy of Work Less, Grow More, just go to remoteassistantscout.com, put your information in there, and we'll mail you out a copy.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
awesome. Nice talking to you, man. And we're going to catch up and have you on again soon.
All right, Richard. Thanks, buddy.
All right.